What's up, you guys? I'm Dan, this is Frugal Not Cheap, and today here are 5 things I don't love about my Tesla Model S. So first off, I'd like to say that obviously I love this car. This car is basically my dream car. It's a 2017 Tesla Model S with a 75 kilowatt hour battery, and it is rear-wheel drive. That being said, a viewer recently asked if I could make a video about some of the things that I don't like about this car. And even though I don't generally like to make sort of negatively tilted content, I like to make more positively oriented content, I thought it was still a pretty good idea because, of course, nothing is perfect. In fact, it was pretty hard to come up with 5 different things that I don't like about the car, and there's really only 2 things about the car that are sort of built into the hardware and can't be changed. The first one of those things is that there are some squeaks and rattles. I've mentioned this in other videos, but really just the way that these panels are put together isn't quite as tight as was done in like my Acura TSX, and really just kind of there's a lot of harder surfaces that make for a lot more of that creaking and rattling. So it's really not too bad, but I do have a little bit of a noise that comes out from somewhere around here, and then one more that's coming out from the back somewhere. That one's a little bit more noticeable when I go over, some bumpy terrain. Yeah, so it's generally not a big deal, but there are some, creaks and rattles that I wish weren't there, especially for the price point of the vehicle. But, most of the time I'm playing music, so it doesn't really bother me. The second issue I'll have to step outside of the car for, and it's actually really, really cold here in Texas. It's like 37 degrees, so that's why I'm filming in my garage and spending most of the time in the vehicle. So as I mentioned, this is a rear-wheel drive car, which is why there's really not that much brake dust on the rear wheel, because a lot of the braking is done by regenerative braking using the motor that's attached back here. However, that's not the case for the front. In the front, we don't have a front motor on the rear-wheel drive Model S, and so you may be able to see there's a lot more brake dust that builds up there. And so that's a little bit unfortunate. That's just a consequence of having gotten the rear-wheel drive rather than the all-wheel drive model, which would have had a smaller motor here in the front, and that would have helped to reduce the brake dust. The next sort of issue that we have is entering the vehicle. So modern Teslas all have the ability to use your phone as your key. They use Bluetooth, and there's some kind of a short-range, low-energy Bluetooth that is available that allows them to, with a power-efficient way, allow you to use the phone as a key. With the Tesla Model S from my era, this is a 2017 model, they don't have as many Bluetooth sensors, I guess, or ones that work at these kind of short ranges to be able to tell where the actual Bluetooth connection is coming from. And so they haven't implemented this feature. However, they totally could. I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't set it up so that the car would unlock when it's able to achieve a Bluetooth connection. It would just use more power in order to run those Bluetooth modules all the time. And so Tesla seems to have not wanted to make that choice. However, with the key fob, which is pretty cool, when you walk up to the car, then of course the door handles do present themselves and you can get inside. The fourth item on my list is basically that these legacy vehicles are slower to get updates. The main reason for that is that we have a portrait orientation screen rather than landscape. So with this portrait orientation screen, it does take a little bit more work for them to code stuff to work for it. And, Tesla just seems to be not deploying a whole lot of resources to it. And so some of these features are coming down a little bit later. And those include also things like that are pretty impactful, like actually Smart Summon is a cool feature that has come out for other vehicles, but hasn't made it to Legacy S and X yet, but might make it. It was supposed to come in the fourth quarter of 2024. Here we are early 2025 and we don't have it yet, but hopefully it will be coming sometime soon. But for the most part, if you have the Media Control Unit 2, the MCT upgrade that I have, then you do get most of the different things. Like we have, most of the we have all of the streaming apps, which are really cool, and then also we have most of the games as well. Although there are a few that are not available for this car, and those are the ones that I think are on the cars of the Ryzen processors, the newer ones. So generally, I would say you know, we still get updates. It's just a little bit slower for them to come to the legacy Model S and X cars. And there are a few that, you know, they could have done a long time ago, but we just haven't gotten. And I do hope they'll be coming in the future. But in terms of the really safety-oriented ones, we do get those. Like we got that feature where if you're in a crash, it'll automatically call 911 over your phone using Bluetooth. And then we also got recently the rear cross traffic alerts, which is pretty cool. And then finally, number 5, and this would be kind of more generally the full self-driving and autopilot type errors. These tend to differ depending on the version of FSD that gets pushed out. And so, you know, for a long time there, the big problem was the cones. You know, the car was deathly afraid of cones, and that was kind of an issue. And then it was also a lot more robotic and jerky. Then we got version 12, and it got a lot smoother. It kind of lost its fear of cones, but was introduced around that time with some really kind of quirky lane decisions, and also starting to miss some exits. And then very rarely I've had it, you know, miss a stop sign. And more recently, we're having issues where it will decide to slow down even though the light is green. So that's kind of a weird one. Happens when there's no lead car for it to follow. So there are a few of these issues, and because you know, once they're introduced, you kind of see them every drive or every few drives, then they can be a little bit of annoying if you have, you know, that attitude about it. But at the same time, the car is still doing like 98-99% of all the driving, and it's pretty amazing, and is getting better and better at doing that. And those are really the only things that I can find about this car that I dislike. Pretty tough to come up with. Like I said, it is my dream car. It is absolutely amazing, but those are those 5 things that I'm not that happy about. Hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.